I am not a defender of The Last Jedi, but I don't mind it. Yeah.
Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, that's gonna be nasty.
No.
All right, this is a Star Wars tier list. We're tired because I've been fucking up the live stream audio and recording, and we're 45 minutes past when we were meeting up and starting this. So we're gonna jump right into it. So we got iNabber here, and
Hello.
we got RCSU, who's in those reaction videos, Starman, and we're gonna look at some Star Wars content, all the canon stuff.
Are we doing comics here?
We are. So here's how I did comics. This one's a little special. I threw in a couple in there that's like comics that stand out. So like the Son of Dathomir one, the Darth Vader one. And then I have other comics that kind of resemble all of the comics in that specific era. So like there's one that represents the prequel comics and one that's a sequel, and then, so forth. If I titled this video Why I Don't Like iNabber featuring iNabber and start with your Last Jedi sentence where you're like, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, do it.
Anyways, let's start this. On the live stream that I fucked up, we started with the Acolyte, and we're gonna go ahead and do that again. So Nabber, if you would like to give your rant again, I'm sorry, making you say it again.
I don't know if it's really a rant, but like I obviously I know about all the controversy, and I've watched like a million videos about it because it's really funny. But I kind of like avoided it like the plague because I was so done after Mando season 3, and then I was kind of like, I'm leaving Star Wars for a bit. I need to like just let this shit like rot and just like hopefully come back to it in 5 years' time, and maybe it'll be like not even good, but just not what it became. And then I sat through Ahsoka. I was like, fuck it, I'm like a like returning drug addict, man. I come back to it, and it's just like it's even worse. So there was a bit of hope at the beginning, but then by the ending, it's just like, what have I done? I've relapsed. It's over. And then I was like, you're not doing it for Acolyte. But then I did it, and I watched the first 2 episodes. And as I said on the stream, I know that it was the first 2 episodes are like the least criminal episodes. And I think the biggest crime for me is just how boring it is. I know I haven't got to the law-breaking episode. I know what happens in it because I've watched videos about it. But for me, I was just bored. And I feel like that's the biggest crime of an opening for a major Star Wars show, which is meant to be about, I guess, the Sith. If it's boring in the first 2 episodes, I think that's a really bad way to begin. And obviously everything else kind of just makes it a million times worse. Yeah, it's kind of fucking terrible, to be honest with you. I put it straight into F tier just for that.
I think you just don't understand the power of many.
Yeah.
Or the
No, I agree with all that. Fuck the Acolyte. I think it's not as bad as people have been saying, because I think us Star Wars fans, we get very divisive and ugly, and we have recency bias. So when a new product comes out and it's like less than desirable, we'll call it the worst thing ever. I would personally put it like in D tier. I don't know if it's material.
The one thing I'll give it credit for is there was one fight scene I saw on Twitter, and that was a really cool scene. Like the
choreography is great, I think.
Yeah, that like scene where he headbutts the lightsaber, I like that a lot.
Cool.
It's just the same that the story sucks. I can't really get past that. Yeah. For me, I'd still stick with F tier, but I'm willing to go for a D tier because you've watched it more than me, to be fair.
I feel like I would agree in that, just that it's not like, I don't feel like it's the worst thing ever. It's got its inconsistencies. Personally, I kind of like have given up on thinking that they're going to do okay. So sometimes I'll be surprised, but the bar is pretty low.
I think like Soul so far, and they might mess him up later, but I think Soul's like a pretty solid character.
Is that the guy from Squid Game? I could have just cancelled myself there and then for saying that, but I'm gonna go out and say it. I think it's the guy from Squid Game. I'm gonna Google that shit right now.
He's Korean, I believe, so I think that makes it less.
So what are you saying? How can we tell the difference?
No, I just Googled it. It's the main actor from Squid Game.
Quite honestly, at this point, I'll say C.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Because I don't think it's great, but I also don't think it's the worst thing. I appreciated that there was a actual purpose of this villain's mask in the Acolyte. That sensory deprivation sort of thing, so he can be more in tune with the Force.
Yeah, because in the latest episode, they had Osha put it on, and she couldn't like see anything. It's like we get like a cool first person viewpoint of what he's been seeing. That's good writing, and I think that needs to be appreciated.
to me personally, if you're going to do a Sith story, why not do it when Darth Bane's about or Darth Revan? I think that would be, I think, and I think it would appeal to everybody. I think, and I think you could get away with like gay space witches making Sith babies. I think, I think that would be like, people would look past it because they might find it annoying and cringe, but at least it doesn't affect the Anakin story to a certain degree. But the fact that this happens 100 years before Anakin was born, that is obviously going to annoy a lot of people. And to me personally, whenever I'm watching Star Wars now, it almost feels like they're trying to annoy a certain audience.
Next is the High Republic, which is a good connection to the Acolyte.
Is that the first book, The Light of the Jedi? Because I've read that.
So here's what I'm going to do. What we're going to do for because like I said, there's going to be certain comics like this one that represents like a wide variety of comics in that era. It's just kind of like your overall opinion of like what you've read in that era. I read a decent amount of High Republic comics, and I would also put this in D tier. I don't know if it's the era or if it's just like the people behind it. I don't know. There's like really no character I'm connected with. I think
it's very boring.
It is. I think Avar Kriss is a cool character. But that's the only one where I'm like invested in if I had to pick one.
Yeah, it's the most middle of the road, boring, like less. They don't challenge themselves, in my opinion. Like it's very like, this is Star Wars, this is the Jedi when they are powerful, and that's it. And honestly, again, I think it's because they've created this timeline which only is a very short period behind the prequel trilogy. So there's really nothing that they can do. And I don't understand why they've doubled down on this period so much. So yeah, I'd also agree. I think The Light of the Jedi, if we were just doing that as a book, I'd put that in C. I don't think it was a bad introduction, but based on the other things I've kind of read and skimmed read everything in that era, it is a D. I think it's quite boring. And yeah.
For me, never read or seen. Haven't gotten to those yet.
Opinion.
So I don't.
Oh, dude, I've not seen the next one. Sorry.
Return of the Jedi. Yeah, that's kind of going under the radar. Okay. This one I've learned has gotten a little divisive.
Yeah.
I've seen some reviews saying, hey, this is actually not as good as I remember it. It's the worst of the original trilogy, which I agree with. I still think it's a really good movie, and probably just like nostalgia in me that loves it so much. But the scenes with like Luke, Sidious, and Darth Vader, I think that's like some of the best stuff in the original trilogy. And I think the conclusion, not the epilogue, but the ending itself is just very satisfying.
I personally love that movie. I think it's top 3 of like all my favorite Star Wars content.
Nice.
I know people don't like the Jabba stuff. Personally, it's obviously not the best but it's kind of like, I grew up with that movie, so it's kind of like a lot of childhood bias there. Even with the edits that he added later on and stuff like that.
Oh God,
I would put this in S tier. I know. Well, to be honest with you, I didn't know that people didn't like Return of the Jedi until I started watching like video essays about Star Wars. I think it was when I first, Cosmonaut Variety Hour, where he made a video.
I watched
about
that one. Yep.
Yeah, and I remember being like, "What? People don't like this movie?" And I like Cosmonaut, but I think I actually disliked that video at the time. I was like, "Fuck this, man! I like that movie a lot."
He disagrees with me. Fuck this. No,
yeah,
but like I saw the comments along with that. I'm like, whoa, everyone's agreeing with him. This like they think Return of the Jedi sucks. And to be fair, like some of his critiques are pretty valid. I think there's a valid reason to not like Return of the Jedi in my opinion, but I personally like it a lot. So we'll put Return of the Jedi in S tier for you. I would probably put it in, I'm gonna say A. RCSC, what you got?
I'm also in agreement with A, but I'm struggling through it because it's been a little while since I've seen it, and I'm trying to distinguish what's nostalgia factor.
All right, next we got Solo.
This film is just like, I feel like this is a C tier movie. I didn't go to watch this in the cinema. I only watched this for the first time during COVID, and I kind of liked it. It wasn't like amazing, but I thought it was just a decent movie that was fun, and that was really it. It just seemed like it was like a every year summer blockbuster to me. Yeah. There was that era in like 2016 and 2017 where rather than just like not say anything, Rian Johnson was kind of obsessed with tweeting at everybody, being like just telling them how wrong they are about everything. And we're gonna probably do that. I am not a defender of The Last Jedi, but I don't mind it. Yeah.
Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
that's gonna
getting
be
to that.
that's gonna be nasty.
Oh, no.
Personally, for me with Solo, I mean, probably C, but I thought it was good.
I will probably, I'll probably do the same thing.
There is this like mini movement of like a vocal minority of people being like, make Solo 2, make Solo 3, but it's like, dude, they're losing this.
I've never
they're
heard that
losing-
shit before. Who's
Wait,
saying I want
really?
Solo
Dude,
2?
on Twitter there's like a every now and again when like Star Wars is being talked about, there'll be a bunch of people who really like Solo being like, make
What
Solo
the
2.
fuck? For me, Solo's C tier because it's just, I don't know, it's all right. Nothing
It's
special.
just decent, really,
It's
isn't
just, yeah. I had a fun time watching it. Would I watch it again? Probably not. But I didn't dislike anything in it. Really, it was just
It's like a Marvel movie as Star Wars, in my opinion. Like it's
Ooh, that's a
very like you
good-
go
yeah.
you put it down, you put it on, and you're like, this is good. I like this, but you never fucking rewatch that shit ever.
Yeah. All right, next one, Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, easy. This is my favorite Star Wars movie. I can't lie.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Not a
yeah.
bad
I'm
choice.
there
I
with
just
you,
didn't know that.
personally. I mean, the acting in it can be kind of spotty, but the overall era of Star Wars that is, I'm in love with.
Yeah,
And
same.
just Order 66 will make me want to cry every single time.
I
Just how well that's, I think, put together.
genuinely think it's like it's obviously not a perfect movie, but like not to sound like cliche, but I think it's like a perfect Star Wars movie. I think this and Empire are just it's just like peak George Lucas.
I would do A tier. Sorry.
What's the parts you don't like about it?
Dialogue was number one thing that because like part of it is like, okay, I can like meme with it, I can laugh it off, and it is funny, it's entertaining. And I will say this, Clone Wars totally saved this movie for me, because I thought when I first saw it, like Count Dooku dying right away, that was so lame. Because he's one of my favorites, and I was like, oh, he could have done more. And then Clone Wars obviously flushed him out a lot, and then Tales of the Jedi flushed him out even more. So those are kind of those like there's some products that kind of save Revenge of the Sith from being like B tier and moving up to A tier.
Yeah, season 7 of Clone Wars is just like it's almost like a prequel to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Those last 3 episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's going to be controversial because I think we all have different opinions with this one, The Mandalorian. RSC, I'm going to let you go because I know your views on it, and I want to start with something more positive.
We're looking at it as a whole, correct?
Yes, 1, 2, and 3.
I definitely think that season 1 was the strongest.
Yep.
And 2 was okay. I mean, 3 I liked
Free.
a bit more.
He's like,
Just because of like the tie-ins with Mandalore and all that stuff. Because like looking at the Clone Wars and coming off of that, I did like that little storyline that they had in that. I don't know. It seemed rushed. It was kind of just there, but it wasn't. I don't know. I didn't think it was horrible. I liked it enough. Well, I'm also putting into, I guess obviously there can be more than one thing on the line, but I'm also thinking like, what would I like above that? And so I do think that it kind of moves it down a little bit, putting in comparison the other things. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean,
okay, B tier.
So,
but can it really be Boba Fett? Like, I just
shut the fuck up.
So season 1 of Mando, I really like. And season 2, I also think has some really good moments. I think with the Bill Burr episode, I think that's like some really good Star Wars. Funny enough, it's where Mando isn't too much involved there. It's like, you know, that dialogue where Bill Burr is speaking to the Empire officer. I think that's one of my favorite scenes actually in Star Wars. It's like a really good moment of kind of seeing how evil the Empire are. One thing I've noticed is I never have ever rewatched The Mandalorian and never have any urge to rewatch it. And I think that's a sign of a show that I can't put in a B, A, or S tier. And looking back on it, season 1 was good. Season 2 was also, I think it was okay. But when you think about the hype factor, was it good in terms of an actual story and show? Or was it good at the time? It was very fun to speculate, thinking who's going to be there next week. Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker. And there's such a hype around that. So for me, it's going to go into C tier. Season 1, I really like. And the other 2 seasons have aged really badly for me.
Okay, I'm going to get shit for this from people watching. Season 1's okay, 2 is bad, and 3 is god-awful. That's my opinion. Yeah, I think I would also... Because of that, I would put it in C tier, like a C minus, because there are some like really cool scenes in it. I fucking hate it when shows flip flop and make it about like another character that's not even named after the show. Ahsoka does this too, and I'll get into that when I get into that.
Yeah.
But they focus on different characters, and it's like, well, it's not why I'm watching the show.
Mando season 2 goes from him giving Grogu to Luke, and then season 3, it's like, fucking look, Grogu's back, and it's like, imagine if you didn't watch
Sell
Book
that
of Boba
merchandise.
Fett. Yeah, you'd be so confused if you didn't watch Book of Boba. And honestly, if you have watched Book of Boba, I feel bad for you, but it was just such a weird choice.
I thought the what's his? I don't even remember his name. It's like Moff something. Like I know it's like the
Moff
rank.
Gideon.
Moff Gideon. Thank you,
dude. Oh my god,
that shit
sorry,
was
I
so
forgot about
dumb.
Moff Gideon in season 3. What the fuck did they do? I liked him a lot in season 1.
I did too.
But like he had and it's Giancarlo Esposito, man. That guy,
he has that
is
aura like in Breaking Bad. Yeah.
And he's in The Boys too. Like he's a good villain, and they just the bit where he's like, my clones. It's like, oh my god,
Saturday night cartoon or Saturday morning, whatever the fuck. That shit threw me off too. Empire Strikes Back.
It's Esther, isn't it? It's just kind of,
I would say S tier. It's not just a good Star Wars movie, but like a really good movie in general. Like anyone can watch it and they enjoy it.
Honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with this movie, and that's very, very rare.
Yeah.
I think every franchise has that movie of where it's perfect. I think Marvel has it. Personally, I think Infinity War is a pretty perfect movie for at least for a superhero.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think once every fucking decade or so, you get this level of a perfect movie. And I mean, we didn't get it in the 2010s of Star Wars, but we got. I say every 20 years you're going to get that perfect Star Wars movie. So hey, we might get it this decade.
I would put it right there with you. It's been a little while since I've seen it, but I've always held it in high regard.
Attack on the Clones.
Oh, D.
Yep, I agree.
I think that's a pretty bad movie. It's got its moments, of course, but honestly, even the Yoda fight with Dooku, I don't like. It's I don't know. It's there's one scene in that movie that really saves it, and it's the one where Anakin goes to save his mom, and he kills it kills all the people there. I
they
really
play Duel
like
of the Fates when he's going towards the village. Yeah, that was a really cool scene.
It's like it's almost like it's from another. It's like they were like prepping for Revenge of the Sith over that scene, but like everything else in that movie is just kind of bad.
It has the worst dialogue, action, CGI.
Yeah. I was just about to say that I would put it in C because of the clones. Like, I love the clones and that whole Geonosis scene in the arena. You kind of brought up what the Clone Wars did to it, and I'm like, actually, no, I'm right there with you.
Jango Fett's pretty cool, too. But, I mean, the scene where Jango hires a bounty hunter who then hires a robot to do the assassin. It's like, what the hell? It's new. I also included some of the games. So, Fallen Order is the first game on here. What did you guys think of that?
C. I know everyone loves that game, but it's just the story I like, but the actual game itself is a bit annoying. I don't like, what's it called? What's like the mechanic called of like where it's like free running and stuff, and it's like platforming and all that sort of stuff. I don't like that part of
like the kind of parkour that you have to do. Or?
Yeah, I don't really like it. It kind of get a bit tedious after. And then there's this one specific level in that game of where you have to like put some golden balls in a certain position, and dude, that fucking mission pissed me off. It was so annoying. The game just seems to have tedious things in it for no reason, but the combat is great. The story is genuinely quite good. I just think it's held back by a few things for me personally. I did prefer the sequel.
I'm kind of the opposite of that. I prefer the first game. I'd put that in B tier. I replayed the game once, so I played it 2 times, but after that I've just never really had the urge to do it. But the fact that I did play it one more time makes it B tier for me.
I have played it 1.5 times. I have not completed the second one, and I do enjoy it. I like the story a lot. The gameplay I enjoyed. I kind of thought it had some nice like Dark Souls kind of elements in some ways with like the combat, but I like it in, I'd say, the A tier.
Oh wow,
wrong opinion, but no, I'm just kidding.
You know what?
Son of Dathomir comic, Darth Maul.
Didn't see it.
Okay,
yeah, I didn't see it.
Whatever.
So it's about how he escaped Palpatine and basically went back to Mandalore and took over. I think that's all I can really say without spoiling too much. But it's a really cool comic. I think you guys should give it a read, and I would actually
sounds cool.
put that B tier. Okay, next one.
What the fuck is that? Is that Rose Tico?
That is
The goat?
yeah,
What
the
is
Rose Tico comic. No, I'm just kidding. It's a Star Wars resist. It's a what's that era called with
Resistance, yeah.
Is it Resistance?
Yeah,
Okay.
you had it right.
Yeah, this is like a conglomerate of all the Resistant comics together. Like it represents all those. And I've only read a couple. I read a Kylo Ren one, Knights of Ren.
I
and that's about
have.
it.
Yeah, I haven't read them, but I've watched videos of other people reading them. So I guess I can say
You count that, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
D, I'd say
D. Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, Clone Wars movie.
Oh,
Jabba the Hutt's son. Yeah, I'll start this off. D tier.
yeah, it's D, isn't
Yeah.
it? It would be F tier if it didn't lead to Clone Wars, I think.
There's not really much this movie offers. No one cares
Yeah.
about Jabba the Hutt's son, and that's about it.
Oh, the next one is
Phantom Menace. Yeah,
Yeah.
See, I want to put this in D, but a part of me wants to put it in C.
I gotta put it in C.
Yeah,
Understand.
it introduces a lot of lore, midichlorians, even Darth Maul, Palpatine's in it. I think more than he's in the second one, and obviously we get Qui-Gon, who's cool. I like Qui-Gon a lot.
Yes. Yep.
Young Obi-Wan. So yeah, I think it's got a lot going for it.
I think the story sucks, and I think it's the worst out of all three of them.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't like them getting stuck on Tatooine, and then the pod. I thought the pod race was so dumb. And I know people like it, but I was
Do you
bored.
ever-
Yeah.
Do you ever like go to an arcade when you were younger, and there's like in the arcade you've got the
Yeah,
pod races in?
yeah.
Dude, I miss that shit.
I mean, that's cool. If I was a kid and I saw that, I'd probably want to play it. But, you know,
Yeah,
as an
yeah,
adult watching the movie again, I'm like, this is kind of dumb. Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul, the final fight, the music, those are all kind of the saving graces. And I cannot put it in D solely because of those things. All right. We're getting to more sequel stuff.
Ooh,
Force
here we go.
Awakens.
Anyone else want to
C.
start here?
You said
I
C?
would say C. I don't think it was good, but it also wasn't like
Yeah, you're wrong.
Oh,
shut up. I don't know. It was just there. Like it was just. I don't think it was needed. I think it was kind of dumb. That it's like, oh, now there's a new empire. But like, it wasn't.
That's what pissed me off the
complete
most about it.
trash. It was just there.
You know what? My biggest issue with this movie, and it's not just a Star Wars thing, and honestly, you guys as Americans might not get what I'm saying right now, but I swear to God, when a British actor is in an American film and they have their regular British accent, to me, it sounds like they're faking a British accent. Like Daisy Ridley does not like. I don't get it because like to you, you're probably thinking you just sound exactly like her, but for me, when the whole I bypassed the compressor. It's like it's so exaggerated in my opinion. I don't know. It just seems.
Do you think the British actors in the original trilogy did that too? Because there was a lot of them as well.
No. That's the thing. I don't. In the originals, it doesn't. It's a recent movie thing, and I don't get it.
I would put this in D, and that's because I think a new empire just like coming out of I don't know the galaxy's asshole out of nowhere was pretty dumb. Didn't get attached to any of the main characters. Because to me, like when I see Return of the Jedi and I look at that ending, I'm like, well, this kind of dampers it because I know all you fuckers are just going to die horrible deaths now. Because, again, new empire just comes out of nowhere. I guess the rebels were sleeping or something.
Except now, the more you guys are talking about it, I'm.
Oh
I'm
my
thinking
God!
that
Okay,
way.
come join us.
Because like I remember there being a thing where it's just like this completely undoes what George Lucas originally was going for, because the entirety of the 6 movies is about the beginning, rise, fall, and redemption of Anakin, and these are like, oh, now there's a new thing. Like it kind of like, and especially Palpatine coming back, which I know isn't this movie, but thinking of this being a part of that is like,
yeah,
kind of driving it into the dirt a bit for me.
Darth Vader comic.
I didn't read it.
I've watched somebody read it.
Vader's one of my favorite characters, and we get to kind of see his transition from Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope. And it's kind of like that middle part. I would put this with Son of Dathomir because I kind of like how it goes into his psyche and just how he regrets things and his journey of like becoming stronger and fighting these new enemies, like overcoming his past and regrets a little bit, and then like fully embracing being Darth Vader. So I'd put that in B tier.
I'm with I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I liked it. I've only watched one read about it, but as in like I watched somebody literally just read through it. But yeah, I liked it. Basically for the same reasons.
And then next comic is Bounty Hunters. And I can't for the life of me remember the main dude's name. He's like the Terminator bounty hunter. And that kind of leads into where I'm placing it, which is D tier, because he's kind of the main character. There's a lot of Boba Fett in this comic too. I don't really care for Boba Fett. It's with characters I don't really care for. One cool thing about it though is that Dirge from the original Clone Wars show, the 2D animated one, he's made canon in this comic, so I thought that was kind of cool. Okay, Rogue One.
It's between B and A for me personally. I like this movie a lot, but I'm gonna go for B. I don't think it's an A tier movie. I think it did really interesting things with the lore, and again expanding on it in interesting ways. The villains in that movie I really like. I think Vader was cool in the movie, not just because of the hallway scene, but he had some other cool scenes in it. And yeah, I think it's a pretty harmless movie, which is interesting, fun. I haven't actually rewatched it too much, but I think it's got a fucking sick soundtrack. Visually looks amazing. Jyn Erso don't really care about, but it introduced us to Cassian Andor, which gave us a great show. And I think as a movie, yeah, I think it's really good.
I would also put it in A. I thought it was very well done. I always kind of thought it was weird where it was like, I saw a review where it was like, this movie was great, but it answered a question nobody was asking, which was like, where did they get the plans?
Right,
you know?
yeah. Like they said, because it gave the movie a purpose, which already upscales it for me, because like Solo doesn't really need to exist that much unless you read the comics. But Rogue One, it kind of fixes a plot hole a little bit in A New Hope. I think the fan service is very tasteful. And I know, like, a big critique with this movie is that people say the characters are boring, but how I kind of interpret it is that it's kind of like Halo Reach for me, where it's like you kind of follow these characters and it's more about the environment and the story than the actual characters.
That is a really good comparison. It basically is Reach of Halo, of Star Wars, isn't it? Like, what would you give it?
I would do A. Also, Andor kind of upscaled the movie a little bit for me as well. Okay. So it's been 2 weeks that we're filming part 2 of the tier list. The reason why is because someone had to leave early.
If you didn't have such a repulsive personality, I might not have had to leave so early.
You know what? That's fair, but you got to be professional and just put up with me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I could.
I feel like we got not too much left to go.
We do not. No, we got like half done.
I also do want to interject again, just to, because I'm feeling argumentative. We spent 45 minutes of the last recording session trying to figure out.
Let's not worry. Yeah, and then all your excuses came in, like, I got a family emergency. My wife's in labor. No one give a fuck.
Not at all what I said.
I don't know, man. Acolyte's kind of killing right there. So I just. Okay, wait. Speaking of which, real quick, what do you guys want to change your placements after episode 7? That
dude, I'd like to put it lower. To be honest, that shit, that shit fucking sucks.
Let's start with something positive and get away from this negative energy. I have right here A New Hope, which is the first Star Wars product ever made and is my personal favorite movie.
It is a really good movie, to be fair. Like, definitely. Yeah, like, it's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the movie.
I also think it's probably the most iconic movie. It has the most references, maybe besides like Empire Strikes Back, which has like, I'm your father scene. But A New Hope kind of set everything up. It has one of my favorite movie scenes of all time, where it's the binary sunsets, where Luke's just like looking out in the music.
I think it's also perfect in the fact, like, yes, it has a sequel that comes after it, which is like also a perfect movie. But like, you can watch that movie and it just, if you never watch another Star Wars movie ever again, you would be happy and content with the ending. Yeah. Like, that's what makes it so good. Like, yes, there was a follow up, but as a movie, it still works perfectly.
Yeah, still satisfying ending. Yeah, and I think that's why it's above Empire Strikes Back, because Empire Strikes Back, you have to watch Return of the Jedi right after. You can't just end on that, because it kind of transitions between the two movies. Like, the only thing I have to complain about, it's a nitpick, is the choreography between Vader and Kenobi, especially like the lightsaber spin move that Alec Guinness did, which I think was like 70 something, that movie. So to be fair, he was pretty old, but
I'll put it up there with you guys. I'll join in.
Oh, look at that. Last Jedi. All right, let's talk about this.
Oh, yeah. Who wants to start here?
I think RCSU you should start just to maybe have a more
I'll-
moderate take.
Yeah, I probably won't be as brutal. However, it is F tier. I feel as if watching that movie, there are some very, very cool scenes. For example, when the one ship light speeds through the other. But then there's also the fairy godmother crap with Leia, and just a horrible job of stringing them all together into a cohesive story.
Fraser, you want to go?
Yeah.
I'm really interested.
I don't think it's an F tier. I would think I'd put it in D tier because there are some scenes in this movie that I really, really like. But the problem is thinking about The Last Jedi for me, it sounds better than it actually is. And then every time I rewatch it, it's like the casino scene, the Leia scene. There's a lot of stuff in this movie. And also the scene of where like Rose saves Finn. Is that her name? Rose? Is it Rose Tico?
Yeah.
That scene is, I don't know. I feel like Finn's story, as much as it was like absolutely butchered in The Last Jedi, that it could have just ended in like somewhat of a positive note there, but she kind of took away from that. But then every scene with Kylo Ren, Rey, and Luke, I actually really like. I think the problem is Luke's arc is really rushed and just poorly written. I don't think we really needed the casino arc. I think we removed the whole casino arc and give us more Luke scenes where we can understand more of how he got to being to the point of where he's so done with the Jedi.
All right. Well, that was the worst take I've ever. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Personally, like, I understand people find good things in this movie. I do think the scene where the starship, like, it looked cool. But part of me, like, I'm in the theater and I'm like, did she really need to sacrifice her life when there's probably like 100 droids on that ship that probably could have done the same thing? Effects are great. That's probably the best part about this movie is the effects are really good in Last Jedi. But in terms of like story, plot, characters, it's like I think it's the most heinous fucking thing in the entire franchise. Like I would unironically watch the holiday special over The Last Jedi, and that's like 80% Wookiee noises.
Do you think that it's worse than The Rise of Skywalker? Do you think it's just that lore butchering as well?
I do.
That's fair. I can see why dedicated fans would hate this one more than Rise.
My main reason is I think this movie completely screwed over Luke's character. I think him even having like just the thought of like killing a child because he sensed a little bit of darkness in him is one of the dumbest things you could, like, one of the biggest character assassinations I've seen. And I know it's like supposed to make him look somewhat more human, like morally gray, fine, but same guy who also was like dick riding Darth Vader and saying there's still good in him and he's like a genocidal maniac. So it's hard to believe with the Kylo Ren stuff that he would even think about killing him.
And I've never really understood the subvert expectations thing. I think like it's a good thing to have expectations, and wanting to live up to expectations is also a good thing.
But wasn't it cool when Snoke was built up and then he just died randomly? That was cool. My expectations were
See, the more you talk to me about this movie, the more I like, because I flip-flop a lot on The Last Jedi, but like I feel like over the last couple years, as I've soured more to Star Wars, it's definitely gotten worse in my estimations.
Fair enough. Sometimes you gotta stand on business, and you just gotta.
I'm still gonna go for the D. Yeah.
All right, so I'm also F tier. I forgot to put it in there. Again, it's my least favorite product ever.
Yeah,
because Luke's one of my favorite characters, and I think they just like butchered him.
With this next one though, Dark Disciple, I've not seen Dark Disciple.
Okay, so it's the novel of Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos. Yeah. So Clone Wars, you guys probably know this. Clone Wars they were gonna make a segment in the last season dedicated to Ventress and Quinlan Vos, which I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I'll be honest, I read it and it seems kind of like fan fiction, because you're taking these two characters that have never met each other and then you kind of put them together. It's like a super random combination of Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress like being like a romantic couple.
Oh shit, they're like a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a bit weird.
It is. And another weird thing too is that this is still canon, even though in the book Ventress dies. And as we've seen in Bad Batch, she's still alive.
Yeah, that is weird. But they do that a lot.
Where in the timeline does it take
So
place?
It takes place between like season 6 of the Clone Wars and in between that and like season 7. So it'd be like in the middle of that. It's basically
they
taking
fill
place
in?
in the Cold Wars. And what really pissed me off is like at the end of the book, Ventress dies, which I guess she didn't, but Quinlan Voss like beats Count Dooku in a fight, and I was like, really? So I thought that was
Nah,
really off. I would put this in D if I'm D if I'm to be honest. It's no. When I was talking about fan fiction before, same thing. I think it's pronounced Afra, Doctor Afra. Anyways, another D tier for me. Reason why is that character feels like fan fiction. I don't know. She has these weird interactions with Darth Vader too. It just she feels like really out of place in the Star Wars universe. Okay, Andor.
I would put it in S because I feel that it was a very well written story. It did take a character that I cared nothing about and kind of created something out of it. I can't say I really care much more for him necessarily, but I thought it was very well written, and I enjoyed seeing the kind of more boots on the ground kind of like things.
yeah, I mean, I also have like a very positive opinion on Andor. I kind of am mixed between A and S because I think a few of the episodes are a bit boring. But when Andor is good, it's like the best Star Wars can possibly be. Like some of the last few episodes, the Prison Break episodes, when the speech is given about going against the Empire, like that shit is like just peak Star Wars, and it doesn't use basically any nostalgia to win you over. I don't think there's a single lightsaber shown in this whole show.
No.
And I it's kind of a shame that it hasn't done as well, but I'm glad it's getting a second season.
I would put Andor in S tier just because, like you said, RCSU, boots on the ground. I also like heavy dialogue shows. This show has plenty of it. I think like introducing all these new characters, like minus Andor, also gave like new perspectives and wasn't relying on fan service like you were saying, Frasier. I think like the only thing you could call like fan servicey, and it's not even that, is that Palpatine's name is drops like 2 or 3 times, which I mean makes sense. He's the Emperor, so he's a part of it. And the new character Luthen is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars of all time.
Oh,
Luthen's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I like how he's like the Rebels version of Palpatine in a way, where he does all this like shady shit.
The speech where he's like saying how he'll like basically never, I guess, be able to see like the end of the war. That's so
sacrifice all his morals and being a good human being so he could win and other people could enjoy being human, type of thing.
Yeah,
games,
Squadrons.
Yeah, I never played it.
I have yet to play it as well.
I've played it and it's actually quite good.
Okay.
I wasn't like addicted to it when I played it, but it's definitely, I think it had a ton of problems at launch. I don't think it was promoted well. But I think as a game, it's not that bad. I'd probably put it in C. It's just a very average game, but it can be fun to play.
All right, let's see. Next one is Star Wars comics during the Rebels era. So like the Luke Skywalker one, the Thrawn one. I don't know if you guys have read any of those.
I've watched other people read them, but honestly, I don't think that really. I don't have much of an opinion on it because I can't really remember much. So I'm gonna have to put it in never read.
I've read the Thrawn one. I've read a little bit of the Luke Skywalker one where it's like him, Han Solo, Leia, Chewbacca, like all those guys doing adventure stuff, which is it's okay. The Thrawn one is really good though. You see how he started out the academy and how he built his way up. I think that was a strong comic, and because of that, I would put this in B tier. Have you read any dipshit?
I already said no. Thank you for that.
I'm assuming no.
I just said no.
Okay, I didn't hear. This Yoda one is the Clone Wars comics, like all those kind of put together. I would probably go ahead and put this one. I do C tier. I don't remember most of them because I only read them once, and a lot of them are forgettable. I remember the Mace Windu one and the Count Dooku one, but that's about it. Battlefront 2. Okay.
I really like this game. I haven't played the single player, but as a multiplayer game, it started off really badly. I remember the controversy of this game, and like from the very beginning, I don't know why they did this with Battlefront and Battlefront 2, but they just had absolutely terrible beginnings to the games, and then they fixed it over time, and it actually became a really fun game to play. I've played a lot of Battlefront 2. I genuinely would put this in B. I think it's one of my favorite Star Wars games.
I would put it in A because of the single player story. I don't know if it was just like because of at the time that I played it, but like I felt like I had not found a very good game in a long while. and then I played that, and it was just such a refreshing, like, I'm invested in this, like, I like it.
I'm very conflicted because at launch the game was almost unplayable.
Yeah.
I wanted a game where you played as an evil character throughout, because a lot of these games like Force Awakens and such, like you start out bad and then you switch to good, and it's like, okay, I kind of want a game where you just play as like a villain, you know? I think the transition for her, it actually made sense why she changed sides. I just think like the context behind it was kind of dumb. And what I mean by that is the Empire wanted to destroy a planet that's like loyal to the Empire for punishing another planet that defied the Empire, which was really stupid. But I don't know. I kind of wanted a story where she was a villain throughout the whole thing. I thought that would have been cool.
I will say, moving off of that, like in a Star Wars game, I would really like that.
Yeah.
Like to at least have the choice to pursue it
Yeah.
down, continuing being the bad guy. But I mean, I still felt like this game was well done. But yeah, that would be nice in a Star Wars game.
I did play it a lot, but at the same time, it ruined potential. I think the story's mess. So I'm putting it probably in B tier. All right. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Let's start.
Yeah, this is like the worst movie ever made. This movie is so fucking bad. It's crazy. Like even like it's like at least The Last Jedi has good cinematography. This movie doesn't have anything. It's so bad. From the very beginning, like it's so much of like a meme at this point of like somehow Palpatine returned, like they fly now and everything like that. Like
they
just
fly
from like
now.
like every single part of this movie, it's just like what the fuck am I watching? Like and then the Avengers scene at the ending when all the ships appear. I see people being like, that's like, oh, the only good scene in the movie. It's like, what? Like 5 million spaceships just appear. It looks incredibly fucking ugly. And like and then there's like riding on like on starships and stuff. It's just such a weird movie. And there was like so many rumors before the movie was made, like, oh, there's like 8 different cuts of this movie. And honestly, it would make sense because I don't know. It's like it's a Star Wars movie trying to be Avengers Endgame whilst also trying to be just some weird fucking mess, to be honest with you. I hate this movie.
Oh, all right. So I'm assuming F if I had to guess.
I don't know. C tier sounds good.
C? Yeah. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
No, I agree with what you said. So I'm just going to say right now, I would put it in D only because it's so dumb at some points that it was entertaining. Like Last Jedi was just painful from beginning to end. It was just fucking dumb, except for the Leia Superman scene. Like that was funny as fuck. But everything else in Last Jedi just pissed me off. Rise of Skywalker just has a lot of like iconic like shit posting, like just horrible meme moments. Like somehow Palpatine returned. They fly now. Like that shit made me chuckle.
Rey Skywalker.
Yeah, Rey Skywalker. That was hilarious. No. Fucking Babadook or whatever the fuck that little
I know.
is.
Babu Frick. Babu Frick is
yeah.
the fucking best part of that movie, man.
Yeah, that was the best character, and he only says one
Claude
line.
Galeon. I didn't mind the Han Solo scene, even though it doesn't really make too much sense.
Oh, I got a rant about that. Go ahead, though.
I thought it was just like a nice little scene. It doesn't make sense because I mean he's either like got like fucking schizophrenia or like Han Solo was secretly a Jedi.
Okay, the reason why I think that scene is like really dumb but funny is like you said, it could be schizophrenia. So basically, like Kylo Ren like forgives himself, and that's what pushes him to. It's not Han Solo doing it. It's like, oh, I killed my dad. He's dead. He doesn't know about it. I'm gonna forgive myself for killing my dad, and then become a good guy now. I thought that was hilarious. That was
I guess again, it's the more I think about it, you're right. It is fucking stupid.
No, but Adam Driver's a great actor, and like I get like the Kylo Ren scenes are good because I mean like without the context behind it, and you kind of ignore some of the shitty writing, it's like it's entertaining. Oh, I forgot about that dagger scene where like the Death Star perfectly.
So
that was
good.
the dumbest. Okay,
that's so good.
That's going F tier. I just got I remembered that bullshit.
That
was one of the worst contrived things in a movie I've ever seen. Star Wars Resistance, I think it's called.
I've seen parts of it. I'd put it in D tier. It was just a kid's show at the end of the day.
I saw the trailer. Looked like doo-doo. Threw up. So never bothered.
Yeah, it literally is for 3-year-olds. It's that's not even an insult.
3-year-olds.
That's like I feel like it is just made for like a very young audience. So I was like, yeah, the same for
And
me.
that's the impression I get from it. Look, I mean, the animation style and just like the stuff, it's just like I don't care about that era in Star Wars, and I don't care
No
about
one
the
does.
animation style.
So I'm gonna do Tales of the Jedi first, and then we can do Empire, so we can make those
I
connections.
think that makes most sense too, just because of the order that it.
Yep. Okay. I can start, and I'll say Tales of the Jedi is B tier for me, and I'm with the popular opinion that the Count Dooku episodes were a lot better than the Ahsoka ones, even though hers weren't bad. It's just I was way more invested in the Dooku ones. It added way more depth to his character.
100%.
Ahsoka's character didn't get too much more depth. It was just more scenes of her, which is always good. But the Dooku ones, like, just way better written, adds a lot more to the lore, the story, the reasoning behind Dooku's fall.
I would also put it in B for the Dooku episode. I thought that it not only explained some lore that wasn't there, I think it just was done so well. And to be fair, I liked the Ahsoka episodes. They were cute. I just didn't think they were on the level of the Dooku ones.
Like, what was the line as he's trying to like strangle the dude? It's like, corruption like yours should be eradicated.
Yeah.
It's like just that. It's like you
line.
see a lot more of his struggle and what led him to leave the Jedi.
I was gonna ask you guys this: where do you, like, in terms of like favorite characters, where does Count Dooku lie? He's like top 5 for me.
He's definitely top 10.
Yeah.
It's such a shame that we don't get more of him because he is such an interesting character. And I think the same for Qui-Gon as well. Isn't there a book about Qui-Gon and Dooku in specific?
Yes,
I haven't read it.
I didn't put the book on here because I forgot, but I haven't read it and I want to. It basically brings up Dooku's upbringing and how like his father saw his powers as like evil, like he was a wizard, a warlock, a witch type of thing. Tales of the Empire. I'm really curious what you guys think.
I don't feel like it stood out. It was just kind of there. It took Barriss Offee, which is a character I did not care a single bit about, and did nothing to do anything about that. It was just kind of there, and I don't really care for her character too much. But I felt like I liked hers better than what was her name?
I don't remember. I just call her Spear Lady.
I haven't
Morgan Elsbeth.
Oh,
it was Morgan Elsbeth.
Okay. There's, I don't know, Fraser, if you've seen it, because there's a clip of it on YouTube. General Grievous is in it. He's in it for like a couple scenes, but that's definitely the best part because it goes into like more about him slaughtering the witches of Dathomir.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
After that, it's just about Spear Witch. I don't remember her name again, and I don't care
Morgan
to.
Elsbeth.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Morgan Elsbeth. It's about her and how she took over that tiny little village in the Mandalorian. Because I really wanted to know that. That was awesome. Ooh, holiday special.
I would like to place it right there and I'm gonna explain a tiny bit in D tier because because it is so funny to laugh at and make fun of. It is so fun to just. They have a cooking segment with whatever character that was with like 4 armor.
I think I'm actually going to agree with. I think I'm going to agree with this. It's like it's so bad it's good.
Yeah, and that is the sole reason it's not in F. And then there's like a bar, like a song going on. It's just
that was
trash.
The best part of the whole
funny.
special too. The B. Arthur singing segment in a Star Wars show was the best part. That is crazy.
Or like the full like tech demonstration that Chewie's son like goes through as he's assembling his toy. Like what? There
were funny scenes, but again, the Wookiee noise, that animated segment was painful to look at. It was not funny.
I don't hate it as much as I hate the Rise of Skywalker.
That's fair. All right, next one is Rebels.
I like Rebels. I don't think it's. I think it's like it has the same problem that the Clone Wars has of it has a lot of stinkers, but I think there is also some really good episodes in Rebels. I like when Vader appears. I like the whole dynamic of Ahsoka and Vader in it.
Yeah.
I do. I don't mind. I know everyone hates Ezra, but I don't mind Ezra. I think his thing with Maul towards the later seasons is really cool. I think the problem Rebels has is it's definitely more orientated towards kids. And I know Clone Wars also was, but Rebels, it feels a bit more orientated towards kids. But I do think that there's a good story there. Yeah, I think C is fair.
I would probably put it there as well. getting into, I guess, the Clone Wars a little bit more, I as much as I love it, I felt like episode to episode it could be a little more sporadic, especially in the beginning, like 5 seasons. I did think that Rebels did a little bit better of a job of having like a kind of storyline every episode in some ways, like connecting. But it wasn't all of them. Obviously, there was some that were just kind of there.
The scenes with the old characters like Vader, Maul, Ahsoka, Kenobi, those are probably the best parts for me. I like the Thrawn scenes. It's not any higher because I don't like the new characters for the most part. I like Kanan. That's about it. The Inquisitors are shit. They're weak. The helicopter lightsaber thing was the goofiest thing I've seen. I was stretching it a little far, even in this like sci-fi fantasy. All right, speed up a little bit more. Bad Batch. What'd you guys think of that?
I don't know, between C and B, because it kind of started slow, but it does get a lot better, and I really do like the story. And I like all of the characters, which is quite unique for an animated show. I don't think there's a real... Omega does start off a bit annoying, but I think she does progressively get a lot better.
It's kind of hard to gauge, I feel like, because it is kind of one of those... It was good, but it was rather slow, and then it built up, I think, to a really cool kind of finale. But it's like, to balance those two, I'm trying to figure out where it lies. So maybe C, maybe B.
Maybe I can convince you, because I would put it in B. I like the Bad Batch team. I think Hunter and Wrecker are like kind of the weakest. Omega went from like one of my least favorite to one of my favorites in the show, just because like the development and growth there. It does have like a huge impact. Like, she's like a very important character in the show, and she does have a huge impact too. So it's not just like she's just some random dumb character, it's a kid character that's just hanging around. She like has a point to existing in the show besides like selling merchandise and shit. Crosshair is a really cool character, probably my favorite in the show. Probably like a top 10, 15 character for me in the whole franchise. Again, we talked about like characters turning from evil to good. I think his was one of the more like realistic ones out of anything that's been shown in the franchise. His episodes that were just by himself were definitely the best ones for me, the strongest ones. And his development from beginning to end was really, really good, very strong.
I'd say B. I put it. I made up my mind. Shut up.
You want to stop?
I kind of do, yeah. I want to rip this one a new asshole. I'm probably going to say like what everyone's been saying, because we all hate it for the same reasons, I feel like. Maybe slight differences. This is another show that's titled after a character, and they get sidelined in their own show. So not off to a great start there. We get to see these stupid looking bikes from like Mario Kart that move like 2 miles per hour. That looked ridiculous. He's supposed to be like this like malicious bounty hunter, and he comes off as like a goofball who has like these morals and stuff. No one wants to see that with Boba Fett. They want to see this dude who's like Empire Strikes Back, where Darth Vader makes that comment about like no incinerations. Like, this guy is like a badass bounty hunter who's willing to like do anything to make his money. Not the same character in the show at all. What else? Oh yeah, Mandalorian is like given a premiere in Boba Fett, which just kind of shows like how
that was a dumb choice.
Still to this day, I have no fucking idea why they did that. It's one of the weirdest things I think I've seen in TV.
It's supposed to build up on the universe and like make connections.
It's so weird, because it's also the worst part for the show is the best episodes aren't with Boba Fett. I'm gonna put this in D.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. That's where I'm.
Okay.
I don't know if I already said it, but that's where I'm putting it.
I'm interested to hear where we all go on Ahsoka.
Yeah, I feel like this one will be different.
Yeah, because like I really liked it at first. It's just the last 2 episodes really let it down. I think is it Ray Stevenson? Is that the guy that played I can't remember the names now. Balon. I really liked his character. It was a really nice new character being introduced who was really stoic. I think he was interesting because he wasn't evil, but he also wasn't good. It was more he wanted it was like a morally gray area. Kind of reminded me of Qui-Gon a little bit, but if Qui-Gon was a bit more evil. Well, I don't want to be a bit controversial here, but Thrawn, he was a little bit I don't know how to say this without sounding like a dick. He was a little bit chubby, and I was really and it really kind of threw me off, because like
Thrawn is fat, F tier.
I think I might still put it in B though, just because I did really enjoy the first half all first 3 quarters. I have issues. I think it's a shame what happened, obviously, with the actor that plays Balon. That's like really depressing that we'll never get to see him. And obviously, it's depressing that he died, but it's sad because he was such a good character. I do think there's this weird thing in Hollywood right now of where people think that you shouldn't recast characters if the actor dies, but
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
I'm an avid Game of Thrones fan, and they switched out so many actors, especially the Mountain.
Yeah,
Like
and the Three-Eye Raven.
Yeah, they switched them out. Like so many characters were switched out. I'm like, it is kind of immersion breaking, but at the same time, I'd rather that than they just like die off screen or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah,
you know? I'd put Ahsoka in D tier.
Wow, really? How come?
I liked it a lot at first. I gotta update my letterbox because like what I have it on there is basically like a C tier type of show. The more I thought about it, though, they kind of degraded Ahsoka as a character, and they were very close at like ruining Thrawn for me because, like you said, his tactics were kind of dumb.
He
And he's
was
supposed to be
Actually,
badass.
can I be put down to a C? I kind of forgot what they, like as much as I didn't like what they did with Thrawn, I also forget what they did with Ahsoka in general.
And what's funny, like this is my point. It's her show, and she wasn't even the first thing we talked about because like the other characters stood out more.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like they didn't have anything to do with her. And the reason I say that is the Clone Wars flashback was really cool, but it was that generic, like, oh, you got to keep fighting. You got to get, like, we've seen this like a billion times. It was heavily focused on Sabine, who is my least favorite of the crew.
Oh yeah, I love that we've just not even spoke about Sabine throughout this entire.
I'm bringing her up because like we got to address the elephant in the room.
The stab.
She gets stabbed. She lives through that. It's like Qui-Gon Jinn looks like a pussy like every day now because everybody gets stabbed in Disney Star Wars and they wake up like it's nothing. And they introduced her like to show her like the live action Sabine. It was her like driving like a motorcycle with this like punk rock music. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? What is this shit? Her being force sensitive, that's kind of okay. But again, she comes off like a fanfic character to me. It's like, oh, she has the Darksaber. She's a Mandalorian. She's also got the Force. Like, how it feels like someone like she's a fanfic character. Like it looks like someone like some fan made her up when they were 12 years old.
I'm looking back on it and like thinking of the kind of the cool stuff and trying to like think of like what stood out and would be positive of it for me. And everything that's coming up does not concern Ahsoka. So I think C tier. Yeah, what is that one?
I don't know, but it's canon.
What's it called?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I'm putting never in play. I don't think I haven't played it either. So we'll get through that one real quick.
I really liked it. I think it was better than the original. I think it builds on a lot of things that the original has. I think the one thing it kind of lacks in is I think the story of the first one was better. I think it's like the one time where I think they've done the High Republic stuff quite a lot of justice and they've made it look a lot more interesting. It did feel the villain who kind of loses his arm felt a bit like a Final Fantasy villain to me, but I still enjoyed it.
I think the boss fights in this one were more fun. I kind of agree. I think the story is about the same for both. So I think the story is like a little bit better in Fallen Jedi. So I'd probably put this one in C. The next game is Vader Immortal. That's that VR game.
I watched Star Wars Fury play it. I'm pretty sure
okay.
it seemed pretty cool. I'll just put it in. I think I'm gonna put it in C tier. I can't really remember too much about it, but I remember watching it thinking, yeah, that looks cool.
I'm in agreement. There's nothing I really dislike about it. It was kind of short. It is a VR game, but story added some cool like new lore elements, but there's nothing like super fantastic about it that would make me put it in B. Do we want to do Clone Wars first or Kenobi? And on a high note or a low note? Because I got
I think we do Clone Wars first.
Okay.
And then we end it with Kenobi. Because I'm really interested to see what we all think about that. Is this Clone Wars Season 7 or is it Clone Wars overall?
It's all of it.
I think I'm going to go for B because Season 5, Season 6, and Season 7 are all really good. But the earlier seasons of Clone Wars really drag it down for me. I think there is some good stories in there, but I'm not as big of a fan of it as everyone else is. Although Season 5 and Season 7 of Clone Wars are some of my favorite Star Wars.
Fair enough.
It's good. I just didn't grow up with Clone Wars. That's my thing. I only watched Clone Wars for the first time during 2020 when we were all locked indoors.
I think like 85% of it is good.
For me, initially, I was going to say A tier because the early parts of it, I think, kind of drag on a little bit. And later seasons have really, really good storylines going over, like the war and stuff with Mandalore. And then obviously the last 4 episodes as it's starting to overlap with 3.
Is it a hot take to say that I think season 5 is better than season 7?
I don't think so. Because I only like season 7 because of the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, whereas season 5 is just like
sticks out.
I still put in A only because it's my favorite era. A lot of it was like boots on the ground clones fighting. Another aspect I like about it too is that we get more depth with the Jedi, so we feel more bad about Order 66. They did a good job showing more of a reason why Anakin went to the dark side, especially with Ahsoka being banished. And it's like, now I can see why in episode 3 he had that somewhat sporadic change.
That's a good, like, there's that real sweet episode of a sweet aspect of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Where it kind of humanizes a lot of the characters, which don't get much detail in the actual movies.
Like Plo Koon, for example, like he's like one of everybody's favorites now. Yeah, because of Clone Wars. Clone Wars also gave us Darth Maul. I mean, Phantom Menace did, but they gave us like the real Darth Maul. They gave more depth to Count Dooku. So a lot of my favorite characters.
Introduced the Mandalorians.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly.
I don't know if they were introduced before that, but like they popularized the Mandalorians.
All right, Kenobi. Cinematography, editing. There were so many ways they could have made Kenobi a lot better, because like those small little details in the show just don't work and they're very distracting. Like that running scene, for example. Did we really need to watch her run? No, just like show the guy pop up and be like hello, and then like imply that she was captured. Part of me is thinking, if your job is protect Luke, why are you just dicking around and kind of abandoning the Force? Like your job is to make sure Luke doesn't die, like you're protecting him type of thing.
I think all the Inquisitors were just terrible. It was so bad. The whole designs.
Okay, the Fallen Jedi Inquisitors were okay, at least in my opinion. The other,
which ones were those?
I think like the 7th sister and the 2nd sister.
I can't even remember what they look like. I just remember the Grand Inquisitor just being so disappointing in live action.
That was another thing too.
Yeah.
Dude, they fucked that so bad.
I think the main problem with this show is that it should not exist. Like, there's no need for this. There's like, you can do maybe something with Kenobi on Tatooine, but realistically, I think if there was some stories that don't need to be touched, I think it's this, considering how like precious it is to maintain the canon of him looking over Luke and never leaving Tatooine, as he was put there as agreed, but with him, Yoda, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they were going to stay and look after the children. And yeah, issues would have happened, but we've seen some of those issues in Rebels. Maul came and found him, and he was still on Tatooine, and he killed Maul. I see a lot of people saying that it was good, but the final battle between Obi-Wan and Vader in this show, I think, is just garbage.
I agree.
I think it's shot terribly. I think the choreography is terrible. The effects are terrible.
Are you putting it F tier? Because that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm putting it F tier.
Oh, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I think that Kenobi is just like so it's like soul crushingly bad, because even though I don't think it should exist, when you hear about the original plans of what it was meant to be, like 3 movies, you know that if it was a movie, it probably wouldn't have looked that shit. The whole thing is just so stupid. And the other thing is the main issue that we haven't even spoken about is the fact that Leia has like seen all of this stuff and she just never addresses it in the future. I mean, I know she's a kid, but surely she's going to remember some of these incidents.
I don't really have anything necessarily to add. I was not outraged by it. I had higher expectations for it. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't like irritated at how it turned out. And the one thing that is kind of standing out as something I think they did really well is when the ship is taking off and Vader just like grabs it out of the sky. Like, it kind of shows a little more of his power.
That was probably the best scene in the show.
I felt like that.
I would argue it's the dumbest, but go ahead.
Wait, really?
Shut up,
yes.
You're the dumbest.
There was this edit that like completely fixed the scene for me. Maybe dumbest is exaggeration, but I think it's one of the dumbest. It's cool that he grabs the big ship, but then like the smaller ship just flies away and he just lets it go. And where did they get that smaller ship to fit everybody in?
Yeah, maybe that's true.
And then
I just think it's cool him holding on a ship.
No,
that's what
cool.
I'm looking
I agree.
at. But when you look
cool.
at it deeper, yeah, it's kind of not
and
as great. But
there was an edit that like fixed this scene entirely, and it was so simple. instead of having Vader grab the big ship and then that was actually just like a trick and the smaller ship escapes, what they do instead is have like everybody be on that giant ship. The Inquisitor villain comes in, tries to kill Vader, and that's why he lets it go, which makes more sense because why did she wait until he wasn't distracted to attack him?
I think this is a pretty good list.
I feel like there's a lot of like that we agree on completely, but then there is also a lot of variability. Anything you want to say before I end the recording on here?
Yeah. My takes are the best. All right, guys, go ahead.
My takes are also the best.
Diesel Patches is a stinky poo-poo brain.
Yeah, ended on a high note. Thank you. That's great.